Welcome back to the Red Dice Diaries. I'm John and this is Hannah.
Hi.
And all this month we're going to be looking at the various prompts for RPGaDay 2025. So let's get into it. Okay, so for day 11 on RPG 2025, we're talking about flavour. So Hannah, tell me, what's your flavour?
I mean, when you say flavour in terms of playing D&D games or playing tabletop RPGs,
Yeah.
I suppose it can mean genre,
Oh yeah, definitely.
but it's also more sort of style rather than genre.
Okay.
Like, is it cheese or is it chocolate? Or is it bitter coffee? You know?
Bitter coffee.
I'd say the games I enjoy most are probably Alco Pops. As in,
Sickly, sweet, probably bad for you.
nobody's taking it a bit too seriously. Everybody's trying to have fun. It's a bit giggly. It's a bit silly. Who cares? We're all enjoying ourselves.
Whereas I suppose if I had to pick since we're going on the theme of like beverage-based RPG classification, I suppose if I had to pick a beverage it'd be based on, it'd probably be some sort of, like you said, like quite strong coffee, but it's got like a swizzle of like syrup in it or something like that. So you start off and it's got that sort of grim, dark, sort of bitter flavour to it that sort of jolts you awake, but then sort of underlying all that there is like a bit of sort of sweetness where you're not taking it too seriously, you're all having fun, and it's because you all sort of enjoy that sort of darker roast, if I'm continuing this weird coffee based analogy that I've got into.
And I suppose if we're continuing with the taste flavours as game flavours metaphor,
Yeah.
you got to think about a campaign isn't the same snack food every day. It's got to be a full meal.
Yeah.
You want a couple of different courses, and then you do want some dessert at the end. You know?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And as part of this weird analogy that we've sort of picked up and run with it, I suppose you would say that rather like different types of foods, different types of games fulfill different needs. So like you say, sometimes you want to sit down, you want to have a nice meal that you've made at home and you've prepared all the ingredients yourself, and I would liken that to like the big sort of campaign where you've done your own world building, you've done stuff like that. And sometimes you just want to head out to like Mackey's and grab like a quick burger, and I would classify that as like the sort of 1-2 shots where you're like, oh, I've got a couple of friends free, we're all at a bit of a loose end, we want to do something fun, we like tabletop role playing. It's not going to be a long running campaign. It's not something I've got a lot of time to put a lot of world building into. We just want a quick, punchy adventure that we can have a few laughs, we can have a bit of fun, we move on with our day. And then at the other end of the scale, you're like, all right, okay, so we're looking at this campaign. We're probably going to be running it for like at least like a year or two. So I'm going to put in more effort behind the scenes. Or I'm building my own world. So I've got all manner of considerations to do with that. And it's a very different niche to the sort of one-shots. They're both great, and don't get me wrong, I enjoy like a nice, lovely meal, but I also like a Mackey's every now and again. The same way I like a long-running campaign, and that's my preference. But also, it's fun for someone just to go, hey, I've got this game that you've never tried before. Do you maybe fancy giving it a go? And even if it's not typically a genre I'll enjoy, often I'll be like, sure, because if I don't really enjoy the system or the vibe of the game, it's a few hours, and then I know that's not for me in the future. Whereas if someone says, oh, do you want to try a long running campaign, and it's a game I've not heard or a genre I don't like, I'm more likely to be like, no, I give it a miss, to be honest.
So, what you're saying there is that if you turn up to a Haribo party, you shouldn't bring Doritos.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I don't know if I'd have phrased it that way myself, but yeah, that's pretty much what I'm saying.
You know, if everybody else is into the game in one particular way, the Haribo,
Yeah.
then you're at the Haribo party, everybody's eating Haribo, there's Haribo everywhere. If you go and tip your Doritos into the bowl of Haribo, nobody's going to be very happy about it.
I will point out to the audience, if there's anyone still listening after this late, but sort of metaphor that I do like a lot of cooking programs on TV, and Hannah has sensed that weakness and has sort of used that to sort of drive me down a particular avenue. Although it is now making me feel like there's probably a market for like an RPG like cooking channel on YouTube. I mean, it's not like I've got recipes from the world of Tolkien on my bookshelf or anything, just within eyeline. But you know, maybe that's an idea for the future. So if anyone would like to see like a Red Dice Diaries like cookery channel, you know, shout up and let us know. I'm not sure how we'd do it, but there you go. But yeah, obviously the metaphor's there because it's flavour, you know, flavour of foods and whatever. But all joking aside, I think it does make a very important distinction that in order to be able to run a game that both you and your players are happy with, you have to understand what particular niche, what particular itch you're trying to scratch with that game. Because only once you've done that, you can then try and fulfil that sort of goal.
It's also, though, making your own unique thing. Like, nobody cooks cheese on toast quite like I do. You know, there is a distinct flavour to the cheese on toast, don't
It's mainly cheese, yeah.
Yep, this is true. But
it's more so a cheese with a nuance of bread. But, yeah, carry on.
But good cooks have their own special little tricks.
Oh yeah, of course they do. Yeah.
Into a meal when they're cooking, and in the same way, a good GM has their own little tricks, and the players that know to expect that little canapé surprise will be looking forward to it. For the other ones, it's a nice surprise when it gets there, whatever it might be. Maybe your GM's got a particular thing for putting cat people in the game. Maybe the GM's got a particular thing for like sci-fi fantasy mashups. Maybe the GM's particularly good at doing combat sequences.
Yeah.
There's so many different ways that you can elevate a game. And when you've learned a good trick, remember it just as if you learned a good recipe. You try and remember it so you can do it again later.
Yeah, and I think to carry on that point, we've all sort of, I mean, we don't tend to run as many games in person now, but when we did, you know, you always knew like, oh, there's my friend Tom, who's like the vampire guy, because he always runs vampire games. Oh, there's the D&D guy who always runs like D&D. And they say everyone had their own sort of like specialities, whether it was because they preferred a particular system, or as was often the case in the bygone days where we were all like quite poor and impoverished students and whatever, they were the people who had the books for that particular system. So they were the ones who ended up running it, because we couldn't all afford to buy all of the books in the world. So it was a case of like, all right, you've bought the vampire books, so I'm not going to bother buying them because you've got them. Or I'm going to buy like a different game and then I'll run that type of game. So like you say, to circle back to the sort of food methodology, like you say, I think, you know, you get specialist restaurants and chefs who cook a particular type of food. So, I don't know about so much now, but certainly back in the day, you tended to get people who like specialised in running particular games, whether because they were particularly good at it, or whether it was a game that they particularly liked, or like I say, whether they were just the ones who had the recipe book at the end of the day. So that's it from me and Hannah for this RPGaDay 2025 episode.
Bye.
Hopefully you'll join us in the next one. And until we see you again, take care, stay safe, and whenever you're playing, have fun.